Bob Wenz is my guest, and I'm sure that you've been riveted those last couple of days as he has shared with us his thoughts as a man who is living on borrowed time. He has an incurable lung disease, and he just embraces each day because he's not sure how long he'll be here on this earth. He's written a remarkable book called Navigating Your Perfect Storm, and I interviewed him about this a few months ago. It's just an excellent book, something that you'll really enjoy if you should pick it up. It's published by Biblica, if you want to know. Navigating Your Perfect Storm. Dr. Bob Wenz is the author. He comes from a background of pastoring, of seminary teaching. He was vice president of the National Association of Evangelicals in the U.S. for some time. He has his own ministry. He coaches pastors. And we've been talking about life. And I got to tell you, Bob, this means a lot to me personally to be hearing from you, because you have a perspective that most of our viewers don't have, in that you know that your time is short. We don't know, any of us, whether or not we'll see tomorrow, but you've been given the diagnosis and you deal with it. I want to ask you just a few more direct questions, and I appreciate the transparency of your answers. What about money? We live in a culture that's obsessed with money, very concerned about money, very concerned about material possessions and a healthy, extended, youthful retirement.
On a golf course.
On a golf course with a flat stomach, yellow sweaters, white hair, and a gorgeous wife, and a sailboat. All these images that are sold to us by the commercials on television. If you just invest with us, all will be well. How important is money?
It is and it isn't. Money has a power. I think of Richard Foster's book, Money, Sex, and Power, from about 25 years ago. Classic book, where he says that there are three forces at work in our lives: money, sex, and power. He said they're interrelated. People use money to get sex, sex to get money, money to get power, power to get sex, sex to get power. They're all interrelated. And that money has a power. Mammon is not just a neutral medium of exchange. Mammon is, in fact, something that has a force over us, which is why Jesus uses the term mammon.
Mammon, M-A-M-M-O-N.
Right.
Right.
And mammon is a force in our lives. And it is, in fact, as one person said, the best way to defeat the power of money in our lives is to do something sacrilegious. Give it away. And ultimately, giving breaks the power that money has over us. My wife and I have tried to be good stewards for the 35 years of our marriage. And we have seen God's provision for us back in times when we had very little. I was outside of pastoral ministry for 18 months a number of years ago. I had left the church, and it was another 18 months before we took a full-time church, and we were struggling and continued to tithe during that time. And
tithing means giving 10% of your income to the
Lord.
Or
at least that.
10%, yeah.
And systematically giving. And God got us through those times and provided for us. He does so now. When I first got sick in 2005 and had to leave the NAE and a regular paycheck, my income came to an end on this last day of September of '05. And we trusted God, and we said, God's going to get us through this. And we continued to give. And on the first day of October, the very next day, I received a check in the mail from a friend for $22,000 who said, we just sold a property. God told us to tithe on it and send it to you. He didn't know what we were going through. He didn't know what we were facing. But that got us through the time until the disability issues and the insurance issues and everything else fell into place. So we live on a disability income that I have for now. My wife works, but we depend upon God to make up the difference every month and to keep us financially holding together. We've had children still living at home, and that adds to your expense a little bit. And things we could not have imagined, not to mention, let's just face it, a lot of health bills. And God has been incredibly faithful. So is money important? Well, yeah, absolutely it's important. But more important than money is recognizing where it comes from and what it's about. Where it comes from is God, and what it's about is recognizing He's able to provide.
Now, a lot of people worry that they're not going to have enough money in their old age, which brings up the broader topic of worry. Have you been a worrier throughout the course of your life?
No, I don't tend to worry.
Would you agree with an old guy who said to me one day when he was on his deathbed, you know, Pastor, 95% of everything I worried about never happened?
I would guess it's at least that high.
Yeah. What would you say to worriers out there? I mean, some people are worried they'll get sick and die. I mean, you're sick, you're dying. Is this something to worry about?
How do we define the difference between concern and worry? Is a hard one. For me, I have concerns. I take my concerns and the things that cause my anxiety and try to put those in God's hands. Things that He can control, I cannot control.
Are you angry at God at times?
For what?
For your current condition?
For a remarkable life? No.
Just two more things I want to ask you about. Well, in fact, let me ask you this, and we'll see how long it takes. What do you expect heaven will be like? I know that you're familiar with what the Scripture says about it, but as you think about it, your day of departure is coming soon. What's at nighttime when you're thinking about this, or whenever you think about it, what are you expecting?
Well, I tend to lean toward Jim Whitmer's book, Heaven is a Place on Earth. And the idea that we're really going to spend eternity on Earth co-creating the universe or the planet with God, as opposed to the idea that we're going to be stuck. I shouldn't say stuck. We're forever going to be in Revelation 4 and 5 in heaven.
Urban dwellers. Yeah, and Revelation makes it very clear there's going to be distinct interaction between heaven and earth and the created order as the Lord recreates it. And I share with you this sense that we're going to be hard at work.
And hey, maybe I'll get to design golf courses. That would be fun.
I've already asked the Lord for a stretch of beach in Hawaii.
Okay. I think that Lewis writes that, heaven is beyond what we can possibly comprehend. Paul writes the same thing. Eye has not seen nor ear heard. It is hard to comprehend. We are finite. It's very hard to comprehend the infinite. What would it like to live eternally? And even if that is outside the dimension of time, that even makes it more challenging to think about.
What do you suppose Paul meant when he said, absent from the body, present with the Lord?
I think he means just that we will be in some way present with the Lord prior to the end of human time, prior to the judgment and the final disposition of heaven and earth. I think that will be an immediate thing, but I think then things will change and we will enter into a whole new phase of what is eternal.